Welcome along one and all on this Saturday morning in Sao Paulo. It's time for a sprint, the fifth sprint of the season. One more to go after this one. And here in Interlagos, the only circuit to have staged a sprint in every single season since the start of this format at Silverstone in 2021. And overtaking a little easier here, that's why the sprint is popular with the fans in Interlagos. 24 laps to come, 2.67 miles, 2 DRS zones, 15 corners. It drops down, it rises up, and it's a top speed of about 216 miles an hour. Sao Paulo, you'd be lucky to be doing 20 miles an hour on a lot of these streets. Traffic jams are plenty around here, but nestling amongst the skyscrapers is this wonderful natural bowl of a racetrack which was on the outskirts of the city once upon a time, but the houses have been built all around it, and the Paulistas come flocking year after year. And I can tell you, 3-4 hours before this sprint race, they were queuing up round the block to get in today to see the action. And here's the sprint grid for them. A big queue in the pit lane. Zhou Guanyu and Lance Stroll and his Aston Martin teammate Fernando Alonso all have a pit lane start as the teams opted to change their setup. So Yuki Tsunoda will be the last car on the grid, and ahead of him, Esteban Ocon in 16th and Valtteri Bottas in 15th, who got into SQ2 for the first time since the Shanghai sprint in April. Franco Colapinto is alongside Sergio Perez. This the lowest spot on the grid for a sprint since Austria 2022 for the Mexican. Lewis Hamilton starts 11th, failed to reach SQ3 for the second time this season, and he's alongside Nico Hülkenberg. Into the top 10, first ever sprint, top 10 start for Ollie Behrman. He's alongside Alex Albon in the Williams. Liam Lawson will start 8th for his first top 10 start in a sprint, and Pierre Gasly 7th. Alpine pointless so far in a sprint this year. George Russell, who was a winner in the sprint here in 2022, starts alongside Carlos Sainz. 5th time this year, he started 5th in a sprint. Max Verstappen 4th on the grid. He won there from there in China earlier on this season. Charles Leclerc 3rd, and then it's a McLaren front row lockout. First constructor to do that this season in the sprints. Lando Norris was on pole last year. Oscar Piastri is on pole this year. You said it yesterday, they're on a different planet with Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, Karun Chandhok. The McLaren's mighty in qualifying. Have they got the pace to take on the Ferrari and the Red Bull and the Mercedes today?
Well, good morning everyone here, afternoon to everyone listening back in the UK. I'm excited to see it because McLaren have shown very good one-lap pace. We've seen it in recent races. Take Austin, for example, pole position, an amazing pole position. But when it came to the long runs, Ferrari were the ones with the pace. And the feeling in the pit lane, Crofty, this morning, when I was chatting with some of the drivers and the engineers, is that hasn't changed. Ferrari still, they believe, as everyone takes off the blankets and shows off those medium compound tyres, we think Ferrari still have the best pace. So Max Verstappen, where does he sit in all this? He's in the middle of Ferrari, but he's got the McLarens in front who he's fighting for the championship.
Grand Prix pace might be a problem for Red Bull and for Max Verstappen currently, but when it comes to the sprint, there have been no problems for Max Verstappen. He's won the last 6. He led every lap of the sprint, didn't he, in Austin? Win pole, fastest lap, led every lap. It was a breeze for him. This isn't going to be a breeze today. Does he need to make an impression at the start and hope that his pace can keep him there?
I think so, because I think the body language from McLaren seems to be that Oscar will play the team game. He will play the supporting role to help Norris outscore Max. So really, Max needs to get past Charles on the opening lap and attack Lando as soon as possible. There are overtaking opportunities here. There are great overtaking opportunities up into the Senna S at the end of the start-finish straight and down the long straight as well as we head to turn 4, bottom of your screen there, Decido de Lago. So there are opportunities, but I think for Max, it'll have to come soon because otherwise he will be under threat from the Ferraris.
There's the sprint format. 8 points for first, all the way down to 1 point for 8th. Top 8 score in a sprint. 24 laps, Bernie Collins. Track temperature, 48 degrees now. Will these medium tyres hang on for 24 laps?
It's going to be a tight one, Crofty. I think the teams are going to have to really work hard on these tyres. They've not done anything near the number of laps that they're going to ask from so far this weekend, and the track temperature is rising every moment that we're speaking.
And when it comes to team orders, I think Oscar Piastri, Karun Chandhok is saying, without directly saying that, I'm going to play the team game today. If he needs to let Lando Norris past, where does he do that?
I think he should just do it into Desierto del Lago, actually, the bottom of the hill, turn 4, because the middle sector of the lap is hard for people to overtake, because normally when you're letting somebody pass, you lose time, you could come under threat behind. If he does it into the Senna S, or the first corner, he could be under threat down into turn 4.
Second sprint pole for Oscar Piastri. He took pole in the Qatar sprint in 2023, where he won from. And wherever you look at Interlagos, the memories of Ayrton Senna are there for you. Lewis Hamilton will drive one of his former cars a little later on, back in a McLaren. Lewis Hamilton. We have statues, we have murals, we just have a tribute 40 years on, 30 years on, I should say, from when we lost that great man, and you just cannot help but feel his presence whenever you come here.
Absolutely. You know, it outsells everyone in terms of merchandise still. Yeah. The Senna hats and T-shirts are so all around the grandstands. But it is about these two McLaren drivers on the front row, not the red and white ones from 30 years ago, Crofty. And I'm excited to see what this guy, Ollie Behrman, a star of qualifying until the final run of SQ3, where he made a mistake up at the second corner, and that's dropped him back. But he has got good pace, and he's got a good car, the Haas, underneath him.
We are already 17 cars on the grid, 3 in the pit lane. None of the previous 3 sprints here in Sao Paulo have been won from pole. What is going to happen in the next 24 laps? It's lights out, away we go, and Lando Norris gets away slightly better than Oscar Piastri, who moves over to cover that inside line. Piastri leads into the first turn from Norris. Verstappen's trying down the inside, but he can't get past Lando Norris, and he can't get past the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc, so he has to stick in 4th place, and they all sail through the Senna S's, although the 2 Hasses getting a little bit squirrely, Hulkenberg and Behrman.
That wasn't a very compliant team order move there from Oscar Piastri, immediately defending the inside line, and he's broken away a few car lengths.
It's a clean start, no contact on this opening lap so far. As into the middle sector we go now, and it's all getting a bit bunched up there. Hulkenberg is ahead of Alex Albon. Ollie Behrman has dropped about 3 places, and Lewis Hamilton has dropped places at the start. He's already down into 14th in the Mercedes. Now, through the next set of twisty, tight corners, Bico de Pato become Verstappen all over the rear of that Ferrari of Charles Leclerc.
McLaren have got a new rear wing this weekend, more efficient, better in a straight line, and they're trying to break away from Charles Leclerc. There won't be DRS on this straight, on this lap, but when they get through the Senna S, they will have DRS.
The 2 McLarens, though, very much breaking away here. Oscar Piastri will lead them over the line to complete the first lap of 24. He's got a half a second gap to Lando Norris. Here comes Max Verstappen challenging Charles Leclerc. Behind them, Carlos Sainz, George Russell, Pierre Gasly, Liam Lawson, Hulkenberg up to 9th. Behrman now up to 10th. He's made a couple of places back again as we ride on board with Max Verstappen, who has DRS. Down the Reta Aposta, down this back straight towards Desierto del Lago, into turn 4 we go, not in a position at this moment to challenge.
Yeah, he went a bit deep at the first corner. You see Perez going down the inside of the Williams of Alex Albon, so Colapinto, I think that is, sorry. And so now he's in a Williams sandwich up into 12.
And Lewis Hamilton following on behind Franco Colapinto. There's the 2 Hasses scrapping away. Hulkenberg ahead of Behrman, so they've swapped places at the start. Behrman lost a couple of places, he's got them back again. And the gap maintaining at around about half a second between Piastri and Norris. Charles Leclerc, though, not in DRS threat at the moment, which makes him a bit vulnerable to the Red Bull chasing him behind. And Sergio Perez all over the rear wing of Alex Albon in the Williams, down in 12th place as we ride on board with Max Verstappen now heading from Junção to the first corner, 1.2 kilometres, full throttle, absolute blast. Verstappen's in place to try and challenge around the outside into turn 1, but at the inside line, covered by the Ferrari. Charles Leclerc fends him off, but for how much longer?
He's going to get another chance here, but again, Verstappen just running a bit wide. I think the issue is in the Senna S, when you get into the dirty air for the right-hand part, that creates understeer.
There goes Verstappen. No chance.
No chance there. Yeah, it wasn't quite close. It just causes the understeer that puts him offline and hurts the exit. But he'd have learned from that, and we'll see on the next lap. Norris, though, just half a second, Crofty, now to Piastri.
And whilst Max Verstappen couldn't get past Charles Leclerc, his teammate Sergio Perez did make a move, and it was on Alex Albon into turn 1, and he's up now into 11th place. And as you say, very difficult to try and find a point to overtake in this part of the track. You're just waiting patiently for the move to come into turn 1 or maybe into turn 4 as we ride on board with Verstappen.
Take your time, Max. and you know the game.
GP, his race engineer, basically telling Max to keep it calm until you know the opportunity is coming your way. Out in front, still the gap between Piastri and Norris is under a second. Charles Leclerc holds off Max Verstappen. Carlos Sainz settles into 5th place. And Ollie Behrman has a bit of DRS behind his teammate, but there's a bit of a train opening up at the moment and no chance to make a move. Although if he gets a good exit here, Behrman, Hulkenberg could be vulnerable going into turn 4, into Decido del Lago, the lake descent. He's just a little bit too far behind, and we can watch the start again.
So you see, just off the line, both McLarens made decent starts, similar starts, I'd say. Leclerc probably got a better launch, but Piastri went immediately cover the inside line. Hamilton was hung out on the outside there, Crofty, behind the Haas car, had to check himself back out of it, and that allowed to the Red Bull of Sergio Perez to get in front, running down towards turn 4. And this is, we've cut now to the inside.
Yeah, what we can't see here is the lockup from Max Verstappen. It was quite a big lockup going into turn 1. For a moment, I think he felt there was a gap. There's the lockup. A lot of tyre smoking from Max Verstappen. That then compromised him coming out of that first turn and allowed Charles Leclerc to stay ahead.
So we're looking back from George Russell's car at the Haas there, and he's sort of a meat in the sandwich. Ollie Behrman riding on board with him. He's got his teammate to the left, and had a snap of oversteer. So that's what hurt his run coming down the straight. And look at how much momentum Hulkenberg pulled, and then Perez got ahead as well.
Out in front, we're watching the live pictures as well. I think this is smart work from the McLaren pair here. Oscar Piastri isn't disappearing off into the distance. What he is doing is keeping Lando Norris very much behind him, in DRS range as well, and helping his pace and protecting him from Charles Leclerc. But maybe Piastri needs to step it up a touch, because Leclerc is now within 1 second of Lando Norris.
Yeah.
And that 1 second is a magical 1 second, because it gives you the DRS.
Yeah, Leclerc's playing it smart, right? We see,
Yeah, that's close.
Okay, understood.
the subtext of that is, right, my turn to get in front now, get him out of the way.
Yeah, I think it's either Oscar pick up the pace and keep the others more than a second behind me, or let me through a little bit as we see the wing open that gap to reduce the drag and increase the pace along the straight here. And the two McLarens staying in station once more, Piastri and Norris.
Yeah, they managed to drop Leclerc enough, haven't they? It's 1.2 seconds and no DRS for the Ferrari. Leclerc's, I think he's just settling in a little bit. The easier ride that you give the tyres in the early stages of the heat cycle, just bring them in gently, and you'll have the grip at the end. George Russell, he's struggling here. He's got Gasly all over the back of him, who, by the way, is once again driving very well.
He certainly is, and running, along with Liam Lawson as well, on his set of used tyres in this race. The rest are all on brand new tyres, but he's very much keeping tabs.
We understand just keeping on Leclerc behind.
Don't worry about Oscar too much. I think McLaren have their plan very much in place for today. But what we don't want is Leclerc making a challenge to you, and he's broken free of that 1 second margin once again as we look at Sergio Perez. Getting close to Ollie Behrman here is in his first ever F1 sprint. Got woken up at 6:30 on Friday morning by Ayo Komatsu, the Haas team boss, to say, what are your plans for today? Because I've got a seat that needs filling. Kevin Magnussen's not feeling well, and we send our best wishes to Kevin Magnussen there. It's been a whirlwind weekend so far for the young 19-year-old from Essex, as Max Verstappen puts in the fastest lap of the race, and he is challenging Charles Leclerc here through the Senna S as we go to the Curva do Sol, the sun curve. Now DRS once again. It's looking a bit brighter for Max Verstappen, but he's not in a position to challenge Charles Leclerc into Decido del Lago, and we'll head down to 10.
Yeah, but I'm not sure what I'm doing here, mate. I thought we spoke about this one.
I think that's what Lando was talking about. That was close with Piastri, you know, showing that he's gonna, if he is gonna let Lando Norris through, it's probably gonna be towards the end of the sprint. Just an update on George Russell's 6th, going well. Alex Albon holding some people up behind him, and that's meaning that Lewis Hamilton, who got a shocker of a start, didn't he, Crofty? Down 3 places, is now right on the gearbox of Albon's Williams teammate Franco Colapinto.
Lando Norris had a slide there into Pico de Pato. He's lost a bit of ground in that middle sector, just caught the dirty air, and that now has dropped him away from DRS with Piastri, but made him vulnerable now to Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen, who both have DRS behind him.
Whatever McLaren's plan was today, I think Lando Norris assumed it would be something different to the situation he now finds himself in. It's almost like he now needs his teammate just to drop back a little bit and to give him that DRS, which Sergio Perez has got on the main straight behind Ollie Behrman, and Charles Leclerc has got behind Lando Norris, and Max Verstappen has got behind Charles Leclerc, and 2, 3, 4 all stay the same, and 11 and 10 stay the same too, with Perez really struggling to keep that Red Bull under control going through the Curve du Sol.
Piastri sending a message out, isn't he, saying...
And Lando, understood. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, whatever.
He's not happy, but I think Piastri sending a message out to saying, look, I'm quick enough to win this race. Okay, I'll give it up, but I might just do it on the last lap of the last corner to send a message out that I could and should have won this race. Honestly, I get it. Like, as a racing driver, you don't want to give up a win. I know it's not the Grand Prix, but you still don't want to give up a win. And he's once again over a second away from Norris, who is once again under threat behind.
Well, let's see how this transpires then, because we're onto the main straight once more. There's your race leader, Oscar Piastri. First lap's led in a sprint by McLaren so far this season. Lando Norris is watching his wing mirrors, seeing where that Ferrari is with very good race pace, Charles Leclerc. And Charles Leclerc is seeing where that Red Bull is, Max Verstappen, who has the fastest lap in this race so far, and he's brought himself back into contention. One thing is for sure, the top four have pulled themselves clear of Carlos Sainz in 5th. And here comes Sergio Perez, looking once more for an opportunity to get past the Haas of Ollie Behrman. Behrman was much closer to his teammate Nico Hülkenberg. He's got the DRS behind him. In fact, Behrman has got ahead of Nico Hülkenberg, and Sergio Perez is going down the inside here. Wonderful move into Destino de Largo, and Sergio Perez up into 10th place.
Yeah, good to see Perez getting aggressive there. Behrman, I was going to say, Crofty, it looked like he got the move, and that really wrong-footed Hülkenberg for the exit onto the next straight. Norris in this lap so far, look, we're coming up to the DRS detection point, and it looks like he's within 1 second on this lap.
So whether that's a bit of extra battery charge for Lando Norris or Oscar Piastri just taking it a little bit easier, I think actually in the middle sector, Lando Norris gained a couple of tenths, and that's made a heap of difference to his pace on the straight, because he's got that DRS that
Give Lando DRS.
Oh, okay, so this is the team orders coming into play. It wasn't a message to say give up the place to Lando.
No, it wasn't. But I think that's a fair message, because what McLaren wants, for the good of McLaren in the Constructors' Championship, is a 1-2 here. And at the moment, it's a better chance of a 1-2 if Lando Norris is given that extra pace boost down the straight.
And that was a debrief from Monza, wasn't it? Is they felt that Oscar cost them the chance of staying in first and second there, and allowed Leclerc to get ahead of Norris. So they don't want that to happen. And this is a good way just to drag Lando along. He won't be happy. He won't see this as the best outcome, because he wants to be leading the race. Clean air and free air is so much better for the tyres and these cars.
We did miss Lance Stroll getting past Fernando Alonso in that Aston Martin battle down at the rear of the field, and Valtteri Bottas gaining on Yuki Tsunoda too. And let's have a look at how Ollie Behrman got past Nico Hülkenberg. Towards turn 1 we go, and amazing pace for Ollie Behrman. It all opened up for him down the inside.
Hülkenberg was very generous with him there. I thought, you know, he was a long way behind, and Hülkenberg just stayed on the racing line, didn't try and defend it at all, and just made it easy for him. But in the end, that hurt his run, as they say, the exit, and allowed Perez to get past as well.
Now Behrman now has reduced the gap between himself and Liam Lawson down to about 2.2 seconds. This is the battle for the last point here. And remember, Ollie Behrman, 2 races so far in Formula 1. He scored points in both of them. And he still might fancy his chances of trying to get past Liam Lawson, who's on the used tyres, remember, from the start of this race, between now and the checkered flag, which is coming in quite a few minutes. Well, in a short space of time. Oh, as Perez gets past Ollie Behrman and into 9th. We're on lap 11 out of 24 here. We're pretty much at half race distance already.
Perez behind Lawson. Remember that little bit of needle after the race last time?
Well, after the race, during the race?
Yeah.
And probably before it as well.
Yes, there's definitely an edgy relationship, shall we say, between those drivers. So let's see. He's at the moment 2.2 seconds behind Lawson. And we'll see if he gets close. But up at the front, it is over a second this time. So look, Lando's wing is closed, but the Ferrari behind has DRS, and and not quite close enough. I feel it's building up. It's a builder-upper. We're going to get something in the last 5 or 6 laps here.
Yeah, it's a patient waiting game for the top 4, who were separated by just 2 seconds as they crossed the line to finish at lap 11, starts lap 12. We're on board now with Lando Norris through the middle part of this lap to Ferradura, the horseshoe.
Sainz's pace is disappointing, isn't it? He's over 3.5 seconds behind, winner last time out in dominant fashion, but he doesn't seem to be able to hang on to this train at the top 4. Mind you, it's not as disappointing as Aston's day, 18th and 19th. That is a terrible weekend for them so far.
Something of a shocker. Liam Lawson heading towards Decido de Largo. Sergio Perez, it's the replay of with the Haas. Sergio Perez is very much getting in touch of Liam Lawson, though, as we can see that replay once more. The gap now down to about 1.2 seconds. It was over 2 seconds when Perez made that move. And he'll soon be within DRS range of Ollie Behrman. Oscar Piastri's just dropped back again. 0.3 of a second slower than Lando Norris on that last lap. And here's Max Verstappen a lot closer to Charles Leclerc as they come round the curve de Sol and mounting a challenge on the Ferrari towards Decido de Largo. Here we go on this short straight. Rear wing open for Verstappen, giving him extra pace, but he's a car length too shy of being able to squeeze down the inside.
If McLaren want to swap it, this is the time to do it. They've got a gap to Leclerc on this lap, who's busy squabbling here with Verstappen.
You might be right here, because Lando Norris is now just half a second behind Oscar Piastri, and he's picked up the pace by 0.3 in the first sector of this particular lap. So whilst Verstappen's trying to make a move, maybe Lando Norris is trying to make a move too, and it's a strategic chess game which we don't often see in sprint racing.
Yeah, they've got the buffer. This is the time, and I'm sure Lando is thinking the same thing, because he's again within the...
Oh, come on, Charles, so many mistakes. Just keep calm. Now's your chance, mate.
He should be pleased if a driver's making mistakes. That allows an opportunity, doesn't it? Piastri leads them over the line to complete lap 13. Half a second between him and Lando Norris. Into turn 1 we go. Barely 2 or 3 car lengths between Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen. Verstappen just needs a good exit out of the curve de Sol to try and get wheel to wheel with the Ferrari, but he's a bit further behind on this particular occasion.
Meanwhile, Perez is right up behind Liam Lawson, so further around, about 300 meters behind this battle probably. It's about to kick off there. Looking backwards, we'll get a great shot. Look at the rear suspension movement. It's a bumpy track, but look at how much the rear wing is shaking on these bumps, Crofty.
Through turn 8 we go. Charles Leclerc keeping Max Verstappen at bay. Liam Lawson just ahead of Sergio Perez. I was trying to watch that particular battle as well as they stride through the horseshoe at Ferradura. Bernie Collins is at Sky Race Control. What's the chat on the team radio?
Lots of chatter on the team radio, Crofty. Lots about management. Teams are struggling with these tyres at these track temperatures. Leclerc, one of the first ones to complain that the lift and coast is too much, given that he's trying to defend that position from Verstappen. And the final one, Piastri's being pushed on a bit on the team radio. They really want to open the gap and then, I think, make the change that Karun's mentioned, but they've not mentioned the switch so far.
And lift and coast just to cool things down, not to put too much stress and heat through those tyres and try and keep the performance in them.
Exactly. They're trying to keep the temperature of the tyres in this nice window where it operates well, and it'll get the next 9 or so laps that we need done comfortably without really falling off in performance at the end.
We got an overtake at turn 1. Fernando Alonso on his teammate Lance Stroll. Maybe he's got a bit more performance life in those tyres. He knows how to send one down the inside into the first corner at Interlagos. And Alonso up into 18th, which is not where he or anyone really wants to see Fernando Alonso running, quite frankly.
Oh, this is a circuit where he's never won, but he's clinched his 2 world championships back in 2005 and 2006, which must feel a lifetime ago now. 9 podiums at Interlagos without a win, which is the most at any racetrack for any driver without ever winning. And Charles Leclerc could be in trouble here.
because he hasn't got a DRS advantage. He hasn't got much battery either in terms of what he's stored up, and he's got Max Verstappen right behind him. He needs to be harvesting that battery, recharging it, re-energizing it, and behind him, Verstappen is getting closer, but he went wide at turn 1.
Yeah, he's the one who made the mistake on this lap, and look, it's given Leclerc some breathing room to charge that battery pack back up, although Max does have DRS at the front. It takes me back to all those conversations, wasn't it, about...
With the gap to Leclerc at the moment, we're happy, if we can, to hold these positions until the last lap.
There we go. Will Joseph confirming what I was saying before, which is, if you were Piastri, you've probably said, OK, I'll support you, but I'm going to send a message that I could have won and wait until the last lap. But there's the confirmation from that man. WJ, Will Joseph on the pit wall.
Yeah, they had the plan, and the plan has been worked through, and there's Tom Stallard, Oscar Piastri's race engineer. Ted, down to you.
Yeah, Liam Lawson's taken P8 and the last points paying position off Sergio Perez, who's struggling with his tyres. So, yeah, Lawson really rekindling that relationship.
Suggest red A4, red A.
Yeah, but I will overtake.
Yeah, eventually he will. Yeah, Sergio Perez might be struggling, Lawson might be struggling. That battle, Ted, has been going on for 2 or 3 laps now, and Lawson, it seems to us, is actually doing a decent job holding up the man whose seats he might like to be challenging for next year. In fact, we can see a little replay into turn 1 of how Sergio Perez went for the move, locked up. Lawson said, "Thank you very much. I'll have that place back again."
Yeah, it was a late launch, wasn't it? And then locked up the inside front. So that'll carry on. We've got still 7 laps to go to see how that unfolds. But Norris within 7 tenths. Leclerc has dropped back. This now looks like an Inter-McLaren battle up at the front. I think Leclerc, having dropped out DRS, having depleted the energy in his battery and the hybrid system, has just lost contact. Yeah. And he's struggling to get back into that DRS window here.
Because he's having to use a bit of that energy to keep Verstappen at bay. He can't fully charge to go and make a full charge after Lando Norris.
And this, as Bernie was saying, you know, if they're telling him to lift and coast.
Okay, so the gap to Leclerc is 1.3. Obviously, if Lando attacks, do not make it too difficult. At the moment, we are happy. We want to try and pull the gap to Leclerc.
And he sent a message out by a new fastest lap. So Oscar Piastri in 11.7. Here we go, Crofty.
Yeah, forget that for a moment, because here comes Max Verstappen, and he's going to have to go down the inside, I think, at Destino de Largo, and Charles Leclerc has covered that off, but Charles Leclerc hasn't got the pace to keep Verstappen at bay, and he swoops around the outside before the corner, and Max Verstappen moves up into 3rd place. And the crowd rather like that. You can hear the cheers, and they rather like that in the Red Bull garage too.
So has Verstappen now got the pace to drag himself onto the back of Norris? The pre-race expectations of Ferrari having the better race pace that I mentioned in the formation lap have all gone out the window. Leclerc struggling. He can't keep up with the pace up at the front. Carlos Sainz dropping backwards. Can the 2 title battle rivals, are they going to keep it clean? Are they going to get together? What's going to happen?
The way I see it, and the way that I think I understand Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, is that we will get a last lap switch, and Oscar will absolutely do the right thing for the team. And if you remember back to Hungary, yeah, it took a while for the switch to happen there, the other way round, of course. So the point will be made, and then the compliance will be had.
Yeah, Norris had a bit of a wobble there at the apex of the first Senna S, and that slightly compromised his exit and run. He's still got the gap. It's 1.4 to Verstappen, but last time round, Max took a full 4 tenths out of Lando's pace. So if he does that again, he will drag himself into DRS.
Come on, mate, let's chase him down.
They have loosened the reins at Red Bull. Max Verstappen being given all the encouragement that he may or may not need to try and chase down Lando Norris. And we're on lap 19 of 24. McLaren running 1-2 for what would be their first ever 1-2 in a sprint race. Red Bull had one in Austria last season. You don't want to be sliding around like that for too long.
This isn't done. I feel like, you know, Piastri on this lap has pulled away 3 tenths in the middle sector, and he's consistently finding a way to just keep that gap so he's not under attack. He's giving Lando DRS, but he's not under attack.
Verstappen, we believe, is faster than Leclerc.
So your teammate might be slightly more vulnerable if Max Verstappen keeps closing the gap, which, to be fair, on this lap, Max Verstappen hasn't. There's a 2-second buffer between Norris and Verstappen. We're on board with Sergio Perez, who's down in 9th place, and he still fancies trying to get past a car in front. That's Liam Lawson, who tried to cover it off very, very late, and then realised he wasn't going to cover that off at all, and thought, no, I better back out before we get a few problems here. Perez gets past Lawson and up into 8th place, the final points place, and that could have been naughty. In the end, it was okay.
It was on the edge, wasn't it? Because he moved on the braking, which you're categorically not allowed to do, as Lewis Hamilton now has got ahead of Nico Hülkenberg and is running behind Ollie Behrman, but still down in 12th place.
Yeah, the race pace hasn't been there in this sprint for Mercedes. So Hamilton has started the last on the grid of all the Brits, has managed to get past one of the Brits, Ollie Behrman, 4 in this race, and as you say, up into 12th place. And let's have a little look at what happened here. Franco Colapinto was looking to make a move. That compromised him somewhat. You can see the Williams, whoa, getting really, really slidey through the curve at Sol. Probably the easiest move Hamilton's ever made in terms of an overtake at Interlagos.
Looks like Nico Hülkenberg is out of the race, Crofty. He's pulled over there.
Yeah, he has.
We just got a shot. It's an exhaust issue. We saw a bit of smoke, actually, as he was heading down to his turn 4. Didn't really catch the end of that, but now he's parked off the track.
Here comes Hamilton on Ollie Behrman down into turn 1. There he goes. And Hamilton now up into 11th place. Nice move for the Mercedes driver. Piastri still leads from Norris. There's no DRS for Lando Norris. We've got double yellows being waved where Nico Hülkenberg is parked up on the exit of Pico de Pato. Does it need a safety car to remove that stranded Haas? Or has he managed to get it going again, or is that just because he's going downhill?
I think he's just trying to roll to a safe parking spot there. He's looking for where to go. But he's off the track in a relatively slow part of the circuit. I think we'll get away without a safety car. It might stay yellow, but it's not an overtaking spot. So it's not going to hurt any of the racing we've got coming up in these final 3 laps.
Half a second difference. Piastri slowed down on that last lap. This might be the opportunity for McLaren now, or they need to take the opportunity if they're going to switch. Because if you get a safety car, they can't switch it. And I think that message has got through to Lando Norris and to Oscar Piastri to swap positions. They couldn't risk it any longer. A safety car would neutralise the race. No chance to make that switch. And it's now happened. But it has put Oscar Piastri right into the clutches of Max Verstappen.
Yeah, as I was saying, I think doing it into the Descida de Lago turn 4 was the right thing to do, because he'll now have the middle sector of the lap to try and break away. Max has other ideas though. he's absolutely
Thanks,
there.
mate.
Well, thanks go to Oscar Piastri, who might respond with, yeah, cheers, mate, because where they did it, I don't think has helped Piastri in the slightest here. This could be a little bit tricky, and what Lando Norris needs to do now is to make sure his teammate has got that DRS, as we've got a virtual safety car, and that might just finish the race behind the virtual safety car, and will certainly ease the stress levels going on in the young man from Melbourne's cockpit, and give Lando Norris this win as well. Nico Hülkenberg out after parking up his car, and I think race control allowed it to carry on for as long as they possibly could.
Yeah.
But that car does need to be removed, and safely.
I think they were waiting to see whether he could drive behind that barrier and get fully out of the way. McLaren did the right thing there, preempting this scenario for a virtual safety car or a full safety car and making that call. It's a question of, can the marshals in the next minute get the car to a safe space and go green? Because, of course, with a virtual safety car, they're supposed to keep the gaps. They all follow what's known as the delta time, a fixed lap time on the dashboard set by the FIA. But it can go green at any point. It doesn't need to wait till they get to the start-finish line. So we could have a scenario on the final lap where it could just go green somewhere with a few meters to go.
Pay attention to this, because if it's on purpose driving slow, report it.
Yeah, he's talking about Oscar Piastri, and a little bit worried that he might be building a gap that he isn't allowed to build to Lando Norris. He can't drop back and go too slowly. One thing I would say, if we do get another lap here, now the tyres have cooled down a bit. There could be a few struggling on the restart here, Karun Chandok, to actually get temperature into those tyres, and we could see all sorts of kerfuffles going on in the final 2.6 miles if we get another lap of racing here, and we're heading up towards the line for what will be the last lap of this race.
But the biggest thing, Trophy, is the reaction time of the drivers.
Yeah.
Because they don't get much warning.
It's
for
clear.
when it's going to go green. Yeah. So the track is clear. They won't get much warning from when it goes green. You have to be ready and react as soon as it does.
Lando Norris has never won a sprint race. He has got about 3/4 of a lap to try and get to the checkered flag and hold them all off behind him. The virtual safety car is ending, but where's it ending? And it might be ending at exactly the wrong time for Oscar Piastri. Verstappen still under his delta, and it now goes green. And I tell you what, 2 seconds earlier, Max Verstappen would have been past Oscar Piastri there. That ended at just the right moment for the McLaren. Frustration, I'm sure, for Max Verstappen.
Yeah, I almost looked like they made contact there, but it was, I think, just Verstappen running offline. He will have DRS, though. This could be a drag race to the finish line.
Like Alonso and Perez last year in the Grand Prix, where Alonso just held off Perez. And Red Bull is going to be chasing after the car in front to try and pick up extra points. This time around, it's Verstappen against Piastri. Lando Norris out in front and on his way to a first ever sprint race win, as Ollie Behrman is passed by Esteban Ocon in the battle for 13th place. 24 laps in Sao Paulo. He started from the front row. He's going to finish as the winner. Lando Norris wins the sprint. His teammate Oscar Piastri from pole completes a 1-2 for McLaren. Max Verstappen in third, getting past Charles Leclerc and making up 1 place in the sprint. Carlos Sainz started and finished 5th. George Russell finishes 6th and was really never in it. And Pierre Gasly just holds off Sergio Perez, who set the fastest lap of the race on the last lap, to pick up Alpine's first points of the season in a sprint, and Perez picks up the final points ahead of Lawson, Albon, Hamilton, Colapinto, Ocon, Behrman, Tsunoda, Bottas, Joe, Alonso and Stroll. Nico Hülkenberg didn't finish. McLaren had a plan. They executed it well enough to make that 1-2, which was their primary objective in this sprint race.
Yeah, they'll be happy with that. It's ticked all the boxes, hasn't it? Lando getting maximum points. 1-2 for the team, so maximum points there. They've extended their lead in the Constructors' World Championship. And on a day where Ferrari, I think, will be quite worried.
Yeah.
Where has their race pace gone? That is the confusing thing for the team. That
well done, Oscar. Great job, and massive support to the team as well. So, big fan of your work today. Really good.
Yeah, well done, everyone. Good day for the team, and yeah, I think got a bit of pace to find, but well done, everyone.
I can hear the disappointment in Oscar Piastri, and understandably as well, because without team orders he would have taken his second victory in a sprint race. But for the team, there was no net loss whatsoever. It was the 1-2 finish that they were looking for. For Lando Norris, it's a couple of extra points, or an extra point I should say, that may or may not be vital come the end of the season, but hindsight will tell you that. At the moment, we haven't got that benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. He's pulled another 2 on Verstappen, hasn't he? That's the important equation for him. I wonder if Mark Webber will still negotiate the bonus for Oscar Piastri from that. He should.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll go and see Lando Norris and have a little chat going, well, my man deserved that one. Elsewhere, Lewis Hamilton in 11th, and a distant 11th away from the points. I think Ollie Behrman was struggling with tyres towards the end. They seem to be going off a bit in the Haas. His last lap was a 1:16.1. He just didn't, I think, have the grip once the virtual safety car had ended, but he'd been struggling on his tyres just a little bit. He'll learn from that going into the Grand Prix tomorrow. And that man will go into qualifying for the Grand Prix a little later on, thinking, all right, if I can get pole, we know that we've got pace in that McLaren car, and maybe we can make it a second 1-2 of the weekend. And thanks ever so much handshake from Lando Norris to Oscar Piastri. The thing is now, Ferrari, as you say, their pace just wasn't what they expected. The car's now come out of Parc Fermé and they can start making setup changes to them. and race control have noted Max Verstappen for a virtual safety car infringement, and this will be when he got very close to Oscar Piastri. Now, he didn't look ahead of Oscar Piastri. I'm assuming that he felt he was still staying, you know, well within that delta, that time that he needed to, and had kind of slowed down and was able to speed up as he knew the safety car was ending. But Bernie Collins, have you got any more details on this?
I don't have the exact detail, but I'm going to predict what I think the issue is. So when we get that message on the screen that says virtual safety car ending, the drivers get the same message in the car. Now, they don't know exactly when it's ending, so they have to second guess in the cockpit. We know it's somewhere between 10 seconds and 5 seconds-ish. When to start accelerating, when to try and get, and they need to be 0 on the dash. You're trying to aim for 0 on the dash when it actually ends. But we've seen him accelerate on that straight, I think preempting the end of the virtual safety car, and maybe he'd gone too early on that.
It's going to the stewards, and they're going to investigate a virtual safety car infringement. Verstappen trying to anticipate the green light. Was he going too fast for that lap time that he had to stay within? We'll find out, and we'll hear from the top three in a few moments. Down on the grid, and it's Max Verstappen first up with Naomi Schiff.
Well, Max, that's the third place for you today. Are you satisfied with that result? It seemed like you had a really great battle out there with Charles, and once he got out of that DRS train, you were able to pounce and catch the McLarens.
Yeah, it was quite a tricky race, but I think the pace was very good because we could always follow within the DRS, and yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. Of course, it took a bit too long with Charles, but when everyone is in the DRS train, it's very hard to attack. So I had to wait for some mistakes, and luckily they came, and I could use that to my advantage. And yeah, it was promising. You know, it was good. Of course, this is race pace. Tomorrow it might rain as well, so there's a lot of unknowns. But today was good.
Yesterday you weren't so happy with the pace of the car, but today it showed that there was quite a lot of pace to deliver. So is that a little bit better for going into qualifying later today?
I hope so. I mean, I still expect them to be really quick over one lap, but I hope we can yeah, limit the damage a bit with, of course, the 5-place grid penalty I have.
Okay, thank you, Max. Oscar, congratulations. You really did control that race from the start. I know you obviously didn't win the race today, but how did it feel out there?
Yeah, it was a bit tricky, to be honest. Very bumpy, as we know, and yeah, the racing line was incredibly narrow. You missed it by a tyre width, and you're in all sorts of trouble. So, no, a great day from the team, and a lot of points. So I think we learned a lot for the race tomorrow as well, and yeah, happy.
We know you were managing your pace to stay in touch with Lando, but it seemed like you had quite a lot of pace within you. So are you optimistic for later today and tomorrow?
Yeah, I think optimistic. I think the pace looked okay, but you know, the Ferrari was very quick at the start and Max was very quick at the end. So yeah, let's see. I think we've got a few things we want to try and improve a bit for qualifying this afternoon for the race tomorrow, but I think we're in decent shape.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lando, congratulations. You won today's sprint race. Obviously, well executed race by McLaren today.
Yeah, not proud about it, but we worked well as a team together, so I thank Oscar. No, but we've done a great job as a team. Today was the result that we wanted. Oscar deserved it, but yeah, we're doing what we have to do. So I thank him and the team, and we had great pace. So looking forward to qualifying in the race tomorrow.
I know you guys managed that race, as I'm sure you had discussions before the race about how exactly you were going to plan it, but out there you did say at one point you were going to overtake. So did you feel you had the pace in you to overtake Oscar out there purely on pace?
It's tough. It's just, it was kind of like yo-yoing a little bit. Like I'll catch up and then I'll drop back and catch up. It's just the dirty air here costs you a lot of lap time. So I felt a bit quicker, but I couldn't pass at the time. But I felt good. I think we were clearly quicker than the guys behind. It's just difficult in a sprint race like this to know how much to manage and push and that kind of thing, but we executed it well.
Okay, thank you very much, Lando. Well done.
Thank you.